Yay, I'm so glad we were able to make this work.
Me too. Thank you for your flexibility.
Of course. So this was a last minute change for some of everyone, all of our members. So some people I'm sure planned for tomorrow, so they'll probably watch the recording, but we may have a few more lingers coming in. And Monique is here as our assistant. And I'm just really excited to be talking with you today. Can you hear me okay? Yeah,
Yes, I can.
great. And thank you also for taking the time to do this. Oh, sorry, my dog's trying to eat a fly. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I was just telling Monique, you are the busiest person I know, and that's saying a lot because I think people don't understand the capacity of what it takes to be a farmer. So I'm really excited to go into that today and what the day-to-day looks like, and also just find out more about your own past. What this group is primarily for is people really at the nascent stage of deciding what they want to do with their herbal degree or herbal career or passion towards plants and plant medicines, healing businesses, whether they're in the product industry, which I know you were part of, a massive part of as ingredients, or as a practitioner, which I know you have background in clinical herbalism. So I would love to start with you just sharing your story of how you got started as an herbalist. And not many people know that you're an herb school junkie, as you like to call yourself. So I would love for you to share about your start and how it dives into the origins of Oshala.
Thanks. Well, I find it really hilarious that I said yes without even asking you what we were talking about or what we were doing. Laura asked me to do something. I'm like, yes, of course. I have no idea what it is, but go for it. That's great. So it's nice to be
I'm
here
honored.
with you that are here today and then who will listen later. So appreciate it. And let's see. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so exciting when you get excited about herbs and the plants and how they're connected with us all and all the amazing like parts that we interplay with the plant life. And then what do you want to do with it as far as a career and how do you make it like your career, or is it just a passion, or that whole thing, right? Is for me when I was going to the California School of Herbal Studies, so I'm an alumni there from Forestville. Well, in my notes, I had a Virgo friend who was next to me as my classmate, so I really relied on her notes mostly. But in some of my notes, it said, think about farming herbs because it's really needed domestically. And that was, I guess, like 20 something years ago. Just, I wasn't really paying attention enough about who and how the herbs were being grown. I just was so excited to learn about them and how they worked with the body system. And it was actually Trinity, Ava, who said something like that at the classes, just about how domestic herbs were really, going to be an issue down the line and just farming in general. So at that time, and I'm still with my partner Jeff, who is was vegetable farming primarily then. So it just made me, it's funny how you can be so into local food, but then not think about the medicinal side. And here you are, like learning about herbs and doing all these great, you know, herbal medicine making, and then just being so excited about the bag it comes in and the box and at your doorstep, or you go to apothecary and even better yet, grow your own. But like when you start making it at scale, sometimes you forget about that story that it holds before it gets to you. So that was always in the back of my mind. And then when Jeff and I had the opportunity to move to Oregon in 2011, we both quit our full-time paying jobs and got to like have this opportunity to create an education center in Ashland, Oregon, with a woman who entrusted us that in that and partnered on a piece of land, which in the end didn't end up working out, which is like, a whole nother thing, right? There's so many times where things I thought were like a perfect opportunity, and then they end up, it felt like a failure at the time when things don't work out. But then you also, realize later that like all the things that you gained and learned from that experience that makes you who you are today. So it definitely got us away from like our full-time paying jobs and into full-time farming, which was a leap of faith that we wouldn't probably have done if we didn't have that false sense of financial security at the time. So I'm grateful for that. And it gave me a chance to, I remember Jeff saying, like, well, if you could do anything you wanted with your life and you weren't afraid of failure, like, what would that be? Like your dream job, you know, and it was going to succeed. I said, well, I want to have a line of herbal teas that I knew who was growing all of them, like us growing some and supporting other farmers. And, you know, I thought that's what he said, well, then do it. Like, might as well try it, you know? So when we came to Oregon, I developed a regional line of teas that we still sell today on our website. And all of those herbs are based off of what grows in Southern Oregon and that we grow on the farm. And now we have to supplement from other farmers because some of it's more than what we can grow ourselves. But during that time, I just realized that there was like 90% of the herbs being used in the US for products were actually being imported. And that number hasn't changed a bunch, but that was definitely one of our missions of starting Oshala Farm was to decrease that number of imported goods and just not only for a sustainability reason, like carbon footprint reason, but also just to be connected with, you know, how herbs are being grown and the relationship that that plant has with the person who's tending it, harvesting it until it gets to where I'm making it into a product seem to have a real difference in the efficacy and the outcome of the actual product in the end. So that was kind of how, you know, and then I coerced Jeff into coming to United Plant Savers conference that was in Williams, Oregon at Herb Farm that year. I think that was in 2013 or 12, maybe 12 or 13, and got to see different than my background with herbalism is like garden herbalism and companion planting. Um, this was like in rows, cultivating and being efficient so that you could actually sell in commerce for manufacturing companies. So that was kind of how, you know, and then that light bulb kind of went off in Jeff's mind, like, oh, you can actually cultivate herbs like you can row crops for vegetables. And I was like, I don't know. That's not how we do it at the California School of Herbal Studies. But yeah, come to find out, there's different ways of doing things, and it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey. Lots of things have changed over the last decade and a half of just rules and regulations and FDA compliance and all of that, and farming herbs for product manufacturers. But it's been a really fun ride and I've enjoyed it. And we still make our teas and our products. And that's probably, I don't know, it's equal what gives me most joy of like whether making the products or farming. But we did decide early on that we couldn't do vegetable farming and farming of herbs at the same time and be efficient. So 2 years into Oshala, we stopped growing veggies and solely just grow herbs. And we grow about this year 98 different varieties of medicinals on 290 acres, all certified regenerative organic. So, and we definitely pump out a lot of amazing herbs from this farmland and supply a lot of amazing manufacturers, small and big, and budding herbalists. And it's amazing. It's really, really great. So I'm grateful to be on this journey. And I don't know that there's ever like really an easy day once in a while, but there's definitely a lot going on.
I've
So.
been privy to watching you manage all of those, your employees, which I know are such an integral part of the success of Oshala. And
Mhm.
I don't know if you and Jeff actually sleep, but you
Good
are
thing we
up
grow a lot of
early.
adaptogens and
Yeah, exactly. You're up early, you're with your crew, you're on the ground, your hands are very dirty, both of you, in all the right ways. And you are such an integral piece of everything that happens there outside of what I would assume large growers are just kind of watching other people working the fields. You guys are really in there with your workers, and it's beautiful to have witnessed it in the small amount that I have
thank
already.
you. Thanks. What else?
There
What did
are
I
a
miss in
few.
that? Yeah, tell me.
What was that?
What did I miss in that?
You are an inspiration to many, many people here. And I think there's a few of our members that are interested in growing their own herbs. I'm not sure how what a big scale, but I would love if you could share a little bit of advice for folks that want to start growing plants for their own products, but also for other people's products, where they would start and how they would look at land. I believe you lease your land or they own. These are all the nitty-gritty businessy questions we're going to get into today. But if someone was to start today to think, how can I start and then expand? And what are the things I need to know? I would love for you to share whatever's coming up in your mind.
Hmm. Well, I want to start by saying that Jeff and I do teach that class for you, and it's like a 3-hour class.
Yes.
So, I maybe more of the details would be in that class, right? Like, because there's just so much to talk about. Um, but first, I guess like the number one things would be just first know your land, like know the history of your land, and not just some of the awful colonization stuff, history, which is important to know too, just the energetics of the land space, but also the soil, because different than any other industry with vegetable farming, your herbs will likely get tested if you are going to be selling to anybody who's manufacturing at a scale where they're having to deal with the FDA, which is at this point, unfortunately, pretty much everybody at some point has to deal with the FDA. So, as late Michael McGuffin from APA, American Herbal Products Association, calls them the F&DA. So we all end up having to deal with them at some point. And yeah, so there will be tested, and even though your land can be certified organic, they will likely be testing afterwards for pesticide residue and heavy metals, and of course, all the regular sprays and things that might happen that could be drifted over from another farm and not even be on yours. But you want to know what you're dealing with, because we were in escrow on a piece of land before Oshala that Mark Wheeler, who is the founder of Pacific Botanicals, advised us to make sure you test that land. That used to be old orchard ground in that area. And sure enough, there was DDT in that soil had been there, and DDT has been banned for 50 years. So, and that would have come up eventually in the herbs and hyperaccumulated, especially in some of the root crops, I imagine. So we were able to get out of that piece. And so I wouldn't want people to invest in land that, unfortunately, we are dealing with a lot of toxic legacy in this country and globally. So,
Can I ask a clarifying
yeah.
question specifically about that? If someone was in the Bay Area, let's say
Mhm.
any kind of suburban area, where would they go to get some of that soil tested? Do they go to their local university? Do they just Google it? I'm curious if you know of these areas you can send soil to.
Yeah, actually, I think the lab we used is in California, but
Okay,
if you hit me up later, I can send you the lab that we used. But there's lots of
perfect.
places you can, and we spent like thousands of dollars and I mean, it is a bigger piece of land, but we took pieces of, soil samples from multiple fields on the farm just because we wanted to know, because it could be, you never know, there could be like a tractor broke down or someone did auto part repair on like a piece of land for, I don't know, decades, and then something got built over. It was, oh yeah, that used to be the old gas station. I mean, you don't know where you don't know where people the history of things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
really
so that's what you
helpful.
have to start with. I think number one, just to at least know what you're dealing with. And of course, there's all kinds of amazing remediation, fungi remediation, all kinds of things you could do, mycelium work, but that could take a long, long time. And if you're trying to make a living growing or you're making medicine, you just want to know what you're dealing with. So that's number one. As far as, and then really knowing what your end customer is going to be for your herbs, I think is super important. Maybe you don't have the structure for a dryer, and so you're going to focus just on people who use fresh herbs, and that would be one obstacle that you don't have to deal with the first few years is drying them. Finding out what herbs people want, what state they want them in, just having really good communication and knowing your customers, I think important. And then of course what you love, like don't grow crops that are super, we just have people hitting us up all the time for gotu kola. I'm like, gotu kola does not grow well in Southern Oregon. Like that is just something, like farming is hard enough and growing. Like we don't need to beat ourselves up trying to grow gotu kola. So, or ginger, like yes, you can do it, but like it's so much harder. So maybe I'll move to Hawaii and be a ginger farmer, but
There
right
you
now I'm in Southern Oregon.
go.
Um, Yeah, so I think, and what you love, like what you want to use, right? Like our first crops we grew were all the crops that we're growing for our tea blends. So like I love those plants and that's why I use them to blend in our teas. So I had a relationship with them, much more deeply now because we've been growing them for so long, but also I just love those plants. So it was really, that's when you're working so hard, I feel like it's really important to love what you're doing because then it doesn't feel so much like work, right? So yeah, those are some of the things, knowing your customer, knowing your soil, and the plants, you're going to have failures and successes for sure, no matter what. We still have that, where we plant and our failures are even bigger. Like the bigger you get, like, oh, you just lost, 40,000 plants because the seed never germed or, it's like things like that are bigger than when it's like, four plants that you killed accidentally. So don't be afraid of it not working or not knowing it all. I guess that's the other part, that like we didn't really know anything when we started doing this, just we had the passion and the desire and the risk-taking ability and maybe the disease that Laura likes to talk about of entrepreneurship that herbs can't cure. That we just were like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's try and make this happen. If it doesn't work, what's our backup plan in case this doesn't work out? So yeah, I think just having the will and the desire to go
So
forward.
much, Elise. I love that. I love the soil, the history of the land, understanding what people want, understanding what you love. And I would say there's probably another element of whatever's growing native around there is probably the easiest ones to start with as well, based on water and temperature and climate. Um, if that
Yeah.
if that actually if people are looking to be more sustainable with their resources, growing these things.
For sure. Yeah, that's something we looked at in the fields of like, oh, yarrow's growing here, plantain's growing here. These are herbs that you think like are easy enough. But the other part of it is, the plantain that we grow now, which has been seed that we've bred for a decade, that Mark Wheeler before us bred for 40 years before that. Like our leaf of plantain is like, this
Yeah,
big, where in the
it's
field it's
beautiful.
like smaller than our finger. So it's like, and we get paid by the weight. So, you want to make sure that you're growing something also that makes sense financially. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge growing herbs is like that conundrum of, you're growing this beautiful medicine for people, and part of you wants to just be able to give it away because it's just a beautiful thing. Just like product makers, I'm sure, you struggle with that. Like, I don't know, just pay me I don't know, pay me whatever you think, or, it's hard to put a price on it and not feel like you're a capitalistic, horrible person. But at the same time, you need to be financially sustainable to do the good work that you're doing. So you want to make sure that, sure, there might be some crops and we do them now for sure of like, we're not going to stop growing those crops, even though we might break even or even sometimes lose money on them a little bit. And then we have other crops that maybe help it out and counteract the loss of the other crop just because we feel like it's so important for that plant to still be in production because people need it. But yeah, you don't want to just grow only that crop where you're like barely making it. And I don't know, that crop's different for everybody. Sometimes we have a great year on one crop and another year like, wow, that was a total loss that year. Like that didn't make sense. So we do spend a lot of time doing time management, crop, analysis on yield, how much time it takes us to do things because you don't know what to charge. And what it takes us here at Oshala Farm in Southern Oregon with our crew might be different for you in the Bay Area or somewhere else in the world, might be a lot less expensive or more expensive. I'm going to let this whiny dog out. Hold on one second. Go on.
Take your time.
So, does that make sense?
I think that's great. We talk a lot about COGS, cost of goods
Mhm.
sold, and manufacturing labor and how it's involved in that. So I think it's a perfect subject to really understand that unless you know your own numbers, it's hard for you to compare to others
Yeah.
until you have those. And that's going to be really unique to your business as well.
Yeah.
Curious about land. So do you own your land or are you renting it right now?
We owe on our land.
You own your land. Okay.
Well, I always say we owe on it. I mean, we don't own it outright.
You have a mortgage. It's like you've purchased it
Exactly.
and now you still owe money on it. Yes, yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
I know that you have a mortgage on your land.
Yeah, yeah.
So when it comes down to, I think your herbs are the best quality herbs that I've ever seen come out of any
Mm.
growers. I think there's a few that are close. Foster Farms Botanicals has beautiful herbs as well. And I know Pacific Botanicals has beautiful herbs as well. But when it comes to your nettles and your calendula and your plantain, bar none, they're the best.
Okay.
And I recommend them to everyone because I know the medicine is in there. I know what they look like. I know what they should taste like. And yours always hits that bar very high. And I don't want to say expensive, but worth it. But that's exactly what that is if you're going to really look at the medicine, look at the quality, you could probably use less of this herb and get the same amount of chemical constituents in that solvent or solution or tea or whatever you're making. And so I think you go with a regenerative agriculture, you go with organic, you go with the one that is something that you think you would grow in your backyard kind of quality. And that's how I see Oshala. And I know you and Jeff put so much intention into each of these plants and each of these crops as well. So the question that I have for you is if you were to recommend a few plants for people that wanted to get started that you think are easy to grow. Obviously, climate's a big thing. We'll take that out of it. But high demand that people ask for, that are willing to pay for, what are the top crops that you're seeing in your universe, even if you don't grow them because they don't grow well in Oregon?
Mm. Well, I mentioned one of them, go to cola for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like I would want to use it's just getting to know your customer first. Like it could be a great, easy, and there might be a huge demand, but if you're not connected with the customer who needs it, that's not going to help you, you know? So I think it just goes back to finding out and connecting with people who you know will support you and commit to you. Because that's the hard part of like getting started. It's like I know when we got started at Oshala and I was talking to people like, why are you importing basil? Like I want local basil. Like why can we not have local basil? And now we grow in dry basil and we don't even sell it bulk anymore because, well, actually, do we? Maybe, but it's like ridiculously expensive. It's so expensive. And I'm thinking no one's really going to pay what it costs us. Um, but some people still do buy it, but it's one of those ones where it just doesn't make any sense, but we needed it. So somebody might be willing to buy it. It grows well here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think finding people who want certain herbs in your area. I mean, usually whenever there's herbs people are looking for the most, there's a reason why somebody's not growing them. Like we're looking everywhere for chickweed. We can't find dried chickweed anywhere. I'm like, there's a huge demand. I'm like, right, because there's so much moisture in chickweed, like, and it's so small. Like that's why no one's growing it. But if you want it for yourself and your own medicine and you want to sell fresh, like it could be something that you could do. So I don't know that there's a really an easy answer to that one. It also depends on what equipment you have. Like, do you have farm help or is it just you and your hands? Do you have a mechanical harvester? Are you going to harvest everything? You're cutting everything yourself. Um, do you really like digging? Because if you don't do roots, if you don't, so there's those kinds of things. Like we definitely, like with the calendula, we were able to do that because we didn't have a lot of money to buy equipment that we needed in the beginning. And so, but we had our hands, so we were able to pick. So that was like one thing that kind of was like, okay, well, let's go for that one. But then it's like, it takes a lot of time. But that is something looking at what equipment you have, what your time availability is, what your growing season is, all those things I think come into play when you're choosing what crop. And then again, just picking something, of course, that you love. It doesn't matter if there's a huge demand. If you like don't like picking burdock seed, then that might not be, one you want to pick. So,
I think you're coming back regularly to this very important concept that we talk about often, which is your target audience.
hmm
And who is your person that you're selling it to? Why did they want it? How are you serving them? And then I would assume it's what climate are you in, and therefore connecting with those people already.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know nettles is a huge herb that a lot of people love, but it doesn't grow in a lot of areas, especially
Mm.
more drier areas. It likes moisture. It probably loves Oregon. You grow beautiful nettles. I know it loves the Pacific Northwest and the California coast, but it's not um, conducive for everyone's climate. I have a question on a financial level. You were talking about wholesale, so your B2B, your business to business accounts are from you to suppliers, suppliers
Mhm.
like Herb Farm that
Mhm.
make tinctures, and you are a supplier for ingredients. And
Mhm.
I'm assuming some supplement companies as well, but I don't know all your suppliers. And then this D2C, so direct customer, you have your own product line. I'm curious how you make those decisions of what herbs are going to go into your product line and which ones you're growing and which ones that you're going directly into your B2B side. And if there's ever like decisions being made of, oh, I have extra of these herbs and I can make a product for it to increase its value. Where do you sit with both of these revenue streams?
So at this point, our so we do contract growing. A lot of what we do is contract growing. That was one of our that's where we are most competitive, and we try and tempt our customers as much as possible to get us to grow on contract, and we give them the best prices possible because we know what we need to grow. We know we get a contract from them saying that we're supplying X, Y, and Z with these specifications, and they're going to pay us this number. And usually that works out great. Of course, there's times when, fuel prices triple and there's all these things that happen in your life that you didn't know and you have to commit to those prices. But so do they. We've had customers who are manufacturers and then they lost the person they thought they were making, 50,000 bottles of tincture for, and they still are committed to buying. I mean, we try and work with each other on things like that, of course, but in the end. And it's also a lot of pressure because you're like all these manufacturers, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't let them down, you like really need to like do what you say you're going to do. But that's about 75% of our business at this point. And that feels pretty good because we know where our sales are coming from as long as we do our side of it. And that's helpful. And then the rest of our sales are for our website and our own well, our we consider our product line our a customer of our farm. So we put that into our growing into our growing plan, our crop plan. So yeah, I think that is, and it's so hard at this point with organic certification, paperwork, and now regenerative organic. And just I don't know, just putting stuff on the website. It used to be so different when I went to farmers market only. I was like, oh, I have this fun syrup I'm making or this blend, and I would just use up some herb and it was done. And then I didn't have to worry about getting the label approved and paying $50 to get it on the website and all these things that happen when you start making things more legitimate. So we don't get to play around as much with like small batch stuff as we used to, just because there's so much investment to create a new product, but that's certainly something fun to do at a level where you're going to farmers market or things like that. Um, or you're like more tech savvy than I am and you can do more stuff on your own. Then you can put it on your website and not have to pay somebody else to do it. So,
Thank you for that. So 75% is B2B, mostly contract. So
mhm,
people already contract with you before you even start the growing season, so you can predict, which is amazing. And
mhm,
then the 25% for direct to customer. So people like us, herbalists that are buying directly from you and then or buying your products that are already made as well.
and then I
Um,
could guess what your next question is going to be is probably
maybe.
75% of our time is spent on that 25% of our sales. And so yeah, you
Yeah.
sometimes you ask yourself like, really, why am I doing this? But it's mostly because, I'm an herbalist at heart, and so I love being able to provide to people who are just figuring things out. And I'm also, always rallying for the person who's starting their own business and they want you to commit all these herbs to them at a certain price but they can't commit to you, and they're just trying to make it, and it's just fun and exciting and you want to support small businesses. So and we are one too. I mean, even though people think like they're like, oh gosh, you guys are so big, I'm like, we're actually are not, we're very small in comparison to farming. We're not thousands of acres. And so yeah, we're small and we're, Jeff and I are like, janitors, rodent control, electricians, like we do it all. So we know how it is running a small business. So, we pack orders, we're weeding, we do all the things. So even though, we have 27 year-round employees and about 60 at the height of the season. So it gets pretty busy.
Amazing. It's so beautiful to watch the growth or and to hear about the growth of Oshala and where you and Jeff started as let's just see what happens here and then what you guys are now and the facilities that you've built, the amount of money that you've put into this. So I'm going to ask about debt. You don't have to give me an exact number, but how have you primarily financed this endeavor? Have you gone to investors? Have you gotten small business loans through banks? Have you put your own money into it from your own savings or family money? I'm just curious.
We've done everything other than sell our body and get private investors. We don't have any investors. We have lots of private loans and people who believe in our mission. We really started with our own savings and then having one of our mentors who really believed in us and also, was reselling our product. So they had a vested interest in us succeeding, lending us money to get going on the farm. You know, sold our only working car to get irrigation pipe. Like, he did all the things that you need to do. And sometimes that still happens during the year where we're like, shit, what can we sell to get this other thing to go happen? And yeah, I think that for better or worse, Jeff and I joke about this, like both of us are really, I mean, we're educated risk takers, but we definitely are risk takers. And, you know, we're willing to get into debt and take a risk on something we really believe in that will work. Like we do educate ourselves, and but it's a gamble. I mean, farming's a gambling, thing. So, um, yeah, we've gotten to probably more debt than most anybody would feel comfortable with. Luckily, both of us sleep at night, so that's good. It doesn't keep us up too much, but we're definitely not like I mean, I think the hardest thing is after 14 years, like we're not really bringing in a profit. We just keep reinvesting because there's something else that needs to be done. I'm always like, after 16 tractors, will like this one be the last one? We just had to like get another tractor this year and everything's just so much money. But we're also at the point where we're like, we don't need to get any bigger. We just need to get more efficient and more profitable. And I think that's a really sweet spot in a business where you feel like, okay, this feels really good. Like, how do I really fine tune this and make it work? Like, we've really looked at our finances and our life, and like, we don't really like feel like making tons of money is our goal, right? Like, we want to have enough money to do the things we want to do. We definitely feel like we deserve to get paid what everybody else gets paid, which isn't really happening right now. But I think it's a good goal. So, yeah, I feel like it's going to happen. It just takes time. It takes time to build your own business. And again, I think it just comes down to like you really have to love what you're doing. Unless you have like amazing investment money coming in at the very beginning, you don't have to worry about paying it back all at once, right? Like I think that's the hard part is um yeah, I mean, I think it's just investment's so tricky. I'm sure you know so much more and have much better advice than we should have come to you a long time ago, but taking these classes.
Well,
So,
I think what you've done is a great strategy, even though you might not have looked at it as a strategy, but you own everything. You own 100% of it. So let's say you decided to change your mind or things happened where you had to sell your company. You now have assets. You can sell. You can sell your business. You can sell your land. You can sell your home, these tractors, all the manufacturing equipment. Like you're investing in assets that are tangible for people. It's not even this idea. I mean, technology is a whole other thing, but it's an asset that is made up. We've made up the value of technology. And yes, AI can be worth billions of dollars. It can also be worth nothing at the same time where you are purchasing physical assets that have value and only increase in value, especially land. And so I see the future of farming as a huge opportunity for people to have a lifestyle business that they love. They own homes, they own their land, they get connected to what they want to do every day with purpose. And they're investing in this asset, which is valuable in for themselves short term and for long term if they ever need to change their lives or sell things. But also land becomes more valuable the longer you have it, no matter where you are in the world, unless you're near a toxic waste dump, it truly becomes extremely valuable. Even if there's wildfire nearby, it rejuvenates and it comes back.
Hmm.
And it's a beautiful life, I think, for people to truly live. And like you said, it takes, it's what, 15 years in building up this business and reinvesting all of the profits. But now it's like you're starting to look at this homeostasis of like, what is it like to build a profit now? And you're in that transition place, which is, I
No,
think,
no,
really
we
exciting.
reinvested. We just made a huge purchase. So there's
Good.
always something. There's always some fun thing that you need to do. And
Yeah.
like 80% of what we bring in goes back to labor. You're right, which it should be. Like that should be your people who power the business should like be receiving everything they possibly can to thrive and feel. And we'd love to pay people even more.
Yep.
So I think that that's like a goal of, for sure of the farm is to really, sustain the people who run this farm in a way that really feels good and feeds back to them. So, yeah, I don't know if I answered those questions, but
As your business has grown, how has your leadership style transformed into, I believe you're a very good leader and a very good boss, but I'm just curious what that growth was for you and what it continues to be.
hmm. I mean, certainly managing people is the most difficult part of our job. Plants are so much easier. And equipment is so much easier.
Yeah. It doesn't
Um,
talk back and it doesn't have a
yeah, it doesn't
deadline.
get offended by the wrong thing you said at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we're always learning, trying to improve our communication styles, just trying to work on yourself, which is actually like it's such an amazing gift, right? Like humans do lend themselves to creating opportunities to learn to be better people in the end, right? Like that's really what we're doing on this planet, I guess, is like how do we leave being a little, leave a better space than what we came into and, leave some good memories and some good experiences here. So I think that I mean, but part of that comes maybe with age. So I'm also like a lot less reactive. Like I'm slowing down and taking a few breaths before I say something versus just, off the cuff of my say something snarky. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think there's also just a part of like creating culture within your, whether it's a company or a farm or whatever. And I think that's really important to me is to create a culture where we do spend so much of our time, working and we're together with people who also are here at the farm. So it's like I really like to create spaces where we work really, really hard, but I also like to create space where we can get to know each other just as, outside of work. And, we have before we start the week, every week, we have a touch base meeting and connect in with how people are doing, even if it's just a couple sentences, like, do we need to be gentler on this person right now? Like, what's happening in their life? Are they like in the middle of dealing with their parent with cancer or what, like just things that you might not think of when you're in the line, like moving quick on a farm and trying to be as efficient as possible. So, we do different events and things during the year to try and create that compassion and relationship with people because we do expect a lot. Like we expect people to be on their game when we're here, and um, but we also know that everybody's not always there, and we have to meet them where they're at and allow people just to be human that way and respect that. And so yeah, it's and then being able to pay unfortunately is just really important in the life we live right now. You don't want people struggling or feeling like they're living, you know, paycheck to paycheck and then expect people to be doing the best they can at work. Like people need to have that, or they're not safe at home or they're not, whatever it is, hopefully they're not having to watch the news on the way to work or, like, or listen to it. Just, it's a crazy world. So we have to do what we can to create a beautiful space when people are here. So.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. Culture, I found when I had Scarlet Sage at the height, we had 25 employees. And when I found out the reason why people wanted to work there was to learn. And we had morning meetings where I got to go over herbs or formulas and a little education, 15-minute meeting. People loved their job so much more. And it taught me like really serve the people and where they're most motivated, and they will stay and commit also to you to do their best job. And it's amazing how not obvious that was to me at the beginning. I was also a newbie retail owner, but it does take time to build that culture and to find out what is behind the motivation other than money that your employees are there. Why are they choosing this place, not another place to work? And it's
Mhm.
important to serve that. So thank you so much for sharing that. I know you're very sensitive to your employees and grateful for their work as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think expecting people to work hard is okay, especially as farmers. You guys work your asses off. No
Mhm.
question in my mind. Yes. I'm
Well,
curious. I'm, oh, sorry, you were going to say something.
oh, I was just saying, like in general, herbs are kind of commodity crops, right? Like people are comparing them to like, well, I can get this in China for this. And you're like, yeah, you can. But if you want it grown the way we're growing here, treating people the way we're treating on the land that we are at, this is what it costs us. And like part of that is knowing, like you said, the cogs and all of that, but also creating a culture that you really believe in is part of your price, right? Like that's an investment. Like to have a meeting every week and to take time to listen to people when you have 20 people standing around. Like when you start looking at it, you're like, oh my God, that meeting just cost me like $350, like all these things that you start to like think of as a business owner. You're like, shit, I hope this is working out. Those are things that you're investing in. So you hope that people and I guess I sometimes don't know that we're that great at sharing all those things. People sometimes are on the farm. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you do all these things," and but I'm not. I would like to get better a little bit of that about sharing so people feel like they know the experience that their plants get before they actually leave the gate of the farm. But yeah,
I
I
love
think it's a
that.
big part of it.
I love that. I have a question about commodities. Do you get subsidies from the US government to grow herbs or no subsidies as farmers?
Most
I'm sure this is
subsidies,
a hot topic too.
yeah, well, most subsidies are with GMO crops, and we don't grow those.
Oh,
But maybe rice. I mean, it's so crazy. I know I was talking to somebody in Texas and they were like, yeah, farmers are just dying to grow stuff because they just get paid every year to not grow. And I'm like, that is so messed up and wild. Like, I just don't even know what to say about that. But yeah, we don't, but we've certainly taken advantage of a lot of grant programs through the USDA and any kind of other resources for grants. I think getting involved with your local, state, well, the state universities, the local extension centers that you might have in your area are such great resources. Collaborating with other farmers on grants, there's a lot of, farmer collaboration grants. So that's been really, I mean, yeah, we've done some really great stuff. We've done the Value Added Producers Grant, which is through our T's, and that's been some amazing. So if you ever a chance and you're voting on the farm bill, make sure you're making sure money's in there for farmers. So yeah, that's been a really great resource.
amazing. I know that regenerative agriculture is becoming so much more popular. And if for those of you who don't know subsidies, so the majority of the United States government pays farmers to sell their crops cheaper than it costs them, but they pay them to keep it affordable for everyone. But it sounds like GMO corn and wheat and rice, which sucks. But regenerative agriculture is finally becoming super popular. People are starting to know about it, and you have been essentially doing regenerative agriculture from the beginning. You just weren't, that certification wasn't there, I guess, at the beginning. But because it's so deeply entrenched in the soil health and the carbon sequestration and the health of all the hedges and the surrounding watersheds, as well as the how people work. What do you think people can do to understand where their herbs are coming from? Is it just the regenerative agriculture stamp, or what other things can they look for if Oshala herb doesn't have the herb that they're looking for?
So one thing not to negate that beautiful movement of regenerative ag, um, with no surprise, the regenerative ag, without the word organic, stems from the movement from Monsanto and Friends and Bayer because they're claiming that they're doing regenerative agriculture because they're not tilling. Well, they're not tilling
Love
because
it.
they're spraying thousands and thousands of gallons of pesticides and herbicides. So, they're doing this carbon sequestration and doing all this, like, saying all this data that they're helping with climate change. So, most of the money that's coming from the government for regenerative ag, unfortunately, is going to those folks. So, people are very careful to also add the word organic in there. But on the other hand, the bummer is that the word, like so many, has got bought now. So regenerative organic can only be used if you have paid into a certification. So you can't now say, well, I do, when we first started our website, whatever, gosh, whatever, I don't know, 2020. That's really wild. That's when we started our website just before COVID. um we do regenerative ag because like we thought that was like a great word, and now we're like, oh shoot, if you don't have organic with it, that could just be like chemical company, spraying agriculture. So but now there is a certification for better or worse, and so now you have to buy the word and it's trademarked now, so you can't use it unless you have that little trademark label on there and a lot of paperwork. So, and we did that because we do believe in it. Like we are obviously like avid believers of, and it's really just traditional farming, but it is paying more attention to the soil and regenerative, organic regenerative agriculture, ROC in particular, has a huge component to labor laws. So organic does a lot of the same things that regenerative organic does, but there's a part like they interview every single person on the farm, like how are you treated? All those things are super important, and so that's great. But I think that, yeah, just keeping an eye out for that. It's that hard word, right? Like when people didn't want to pay for a long time and still people don't, like for the organic certification, but they're like, oh, we grow organically. And they're getting stricter and stricter on that. So it just basically comes down to knowing, if you're not going to buy from a place that's either certified organic or certified regenerative organic, how, do you know that person? Do you have a connection? Are you able to visit that land? I mean, even in organic, like organic can use plastic row cover. That's crazy to me. Like you have cheap organic strawberries, I guarantee you they were all grown on plastic row cover because they don't want to pay for the weeding because they can't sell you a pint of strawberries for $2.99 or probably even $4.99 without using plastic. So, and that's just all gauze. I mean, some people reuse it again, but like, it's horrible waste in plastic and organic farming also. So, depends what kind of farmer you are. We don't use plastic like that on our farm. So, we're having to invest heavily in weeding labor. But then it costs more. So people don't want to pay very much. So this is the problem.
Mm.
So I think it just comes down to having a relationship with whoever's growing your herbs. If it's a distributor you're buying from, like trusting them that they're doing that work. All those things, having relationships really comes down to relationships, really about who, yeah, knowing, tracing it back. There's a beautiful book, I'm sure you've read it, with Anne Umbrecht, The Business of Botanicals, or right, like just following that history, and doesn't get into as much as the nitty gritty of like the plastic and farming and things like that, but still just knowing that traveling journey and that the energetics of plants by the time they get to you.
I think Sustainable Herbs Initiative is her company, and it's just so wonderful to watch. You guys are involved and members of that group that watching her grow and really support this conversation with the herb. growers and suppliers in the space. Ideally, I have her on this call at
Yeah.
some point too. That would
Yeah.
be fantastic.
And I think what's so empowering and amazing, especially for emerging brands, is that you have this ability to start right away with having a relationship with who and how your herbs are being grown, and you can set that price model. When you get bigger companies who were like the light bulb goes off or their supply chain just diminishes because of, you know, pandemics or the tariffs or whatever, like suddenly they have to change their mind, or a light bulb goes off that this is just not sustainable anymore, to do it this way. They have a really hard time switching over to domestic growing because they're so used to having herbs so cheap, and it's just that's not sustainable anymore. I mean, you hear about people, oh, there's like, a dying race of wildcrafters and people aren't farming. And it's like, well, that's because people aren't making a living doing it. There's a reason that their people aren't doing it anymore. It's not because they didn't love it. It's because their kids saw them, having a really hard life, and have more options now. So people aren't going to continue doing things that they can't at least sustain themselves financially on. And nor why would you want to use those herbs in your product, right?
No,
So.
that's really helpful. So ROC is regenerative agriculture and organic. ROC, right?
Regenerative organic certified.
Right.
And
So the
it's
ROC. Okay.
yeah, and many people can do third party audits and your inspectors, but that's through ROA, so Regenerative Organic Agriculture, maybe Alliance. That's what it is.
Okay.
Um,
Great.
so
That's what we'll look at for products. And it's really helpful to hear your background on all the different ways that people can be hoodwinked when looking at herbs. And it's really important, like you said, to start at a place where you can charge, you have your margins that you're charging for the highest quality of herbs now, because the larger amounts you buy later, that will become a little bit cheaper. Other things will increase as you
exactly.
scale, but you'll have a product margin and a gross margin that at least that you can continue to grow at that price point, and even increase just a tiny bit as
Mhm.
inflation happens long term. But I think that's wise. I know most people undercharge for their products, especially their herbal products, because they want them to be affordable. But again, it's important to get quality out there and tell that story. I encourage people just to tell the story of you and your organic and regenerative growing herbs if they have those herbs in that product. Like really tell that story of how important that is. People spend the money on things. We all spend money on things that we know the story about that spend a higher price. So making sure people that build those product lines tell that
And
story.
then use your profit to give away products, or like we
Yeah.
donate herbs all the time to places, and that makes me feel good that I can do that, and that, but I also have to charge what I know makes it work on the farm for other products. And there are people who will do that. So,
I know that we're going to open it up for everyone with questions, but I'm curious about the USDA mortgages on land. So, people that want to buy land and want to buy farms, I know that sometimes you can get a 0% down on land for growing. Do you know much about that? And if you don't, I'll send links over to people afterwards.
yeah, that would be great to get more links on that. We have not been able to take advantage of that. So, no.
Because you didn't buy an existing farm and you turned that land into a farm?
No, I think just we didn't know about it at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will make sure to send links over for people that are interested.
Yeah.
I do know if you go to USDA website, there are opportunities to buy farms that are working farms to continue
Mhm.
them working, and very low interest loans, if not 0% and zero down, to be able to purchase those farms. So I think it's a great opportunity for those that are interested in land and land stewardship and even cooperative living, which a lot of people are interested in these spaces, and how to do it legally, how to do it well, how to do it with a profit focus of a farm or a group of people that are looking to live in tandem with one another, maybe in their own homes even, which is wonderful. Farms, I
Mhm.
think, are a good way to have that structure.
Definitely.
All right, we will now open it up for questions. Thank you so much, Elise. You are Amazing. Thank you, Monique, for finding that. That link is in the chat, and I will send this link to you separately as well, Elise.
Nice.
What questions do we have for Elise today?
Well, I'm just so excited that to hear you talk because I think what you're doing is so awesome. And um, I right now have a greenhouse and it's on my family's horse farm. So that's the only way that I'm able to have land to grow. Like I just my dad and sister run the farm and the horse farm, and I have like half an acre I'm growing on because it feels almost impossible to get started and really hard to make it profitable. And our horse business for my family really is not profitable like at all. We just do it because we love it. And it sounds like growing herbs can kind of be like that too. So I've just been looking for really creative ways to make it sustainable and sustainable for my family. The we've had the land for about 25 years, and I'm in Utah. They just developed everything around it. So we have to move. And we lost like half of our land because we were renting. So yeah, we're my whole family, and I'm also lucky because we're working collaboratively. We have to move the horse farm and then also the greenhouse and my herbal project with it. So I'm gonna definitely look into the USDA loans, but I have so many questions. But first, I get my seeds from strictly medicinals. Do you think that's the best resource to get herbal seeds from?
Well, one, I just want to say I'm sorry that that's happening to you right now. That's a lot. And I commend you on just like trying to keep a good attitude with it and staying true to your, passion and what you all believe in. And I really best thoughts and wishes to you on this new chapter. It's the year of the fire horse. It's crazy. Everything's happening. So it's no surprise that the horse people are dealing with it too.
Yeah.
So, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry that you're having to go through that. And I really hope that just some amazing space opens up and later you're going to look back and be like, this is amazing. I'm so glad it happened. So, yeah. So just wanted to say that. And yeah, I think that Richo is an amazing resource, strictly medicinals. Um, is he still? I don't think he's, oh no, yeah, he is strictly medicinals. It used to be Horizon Herbs or something. So, um, yeah, we get a lot. We do save a lot of our own seed, and but I think he's a great resource. Yeah, yeah, we do. Sometimes we buy in such bulk, like we buy by pounds instead of packets. So, sometimes we're having to get from Europe. Most of the seed we save ourselves on our farm at this point, and is I mean, as long as I'm in charge of purchase orders, we're not taking on any new crops. So we have seeds for pretty much all of our crops. So it's usually when we're taking on a new order where we need to order from, from Europe or someplace that is in bigger quantities than we can really get from Richo. So, but I think he's a good resource for sure. And I love he has some really great advice on, propagating and starting and cultivating seeds. So it's a fun reads on his website and his books.
Yeah, his books have been the only way that I've really been able to learn how to individually care for each plant because it's not
Hmm.
like you're just growing corn and it's all the same. There's like, I'm growing like 50 different plants, and some of
Yeah.
them are so particular, and I try to be as accommodating as I can be, but it's also just me doing it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
um,
hope you can come to Herb Camp sometime and check out. We have a farming track in Herb Camp. So we've got some really great herb farmers that are part of that. So
And Elise, when is Herb Camp this year?
Herb Camp is right before the Amazing Verse adventure. And it is June 26th through 28th, I believe. Yeah.
26th, 27th, 28th. Yes,
Hmm.
on your farm.
Yeah. Yeah. Or no, you're before.
Yeah, we're the 19th through the 24th.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be so fun. But yeah. Um, and then what other part did you have on that? So the seed.
yeah, so I just was, I mean, seeds have been hard for me to find. And what I've actually been doing is we have horses, and the reason why is because my family loves spending time in the mountains on horseback. Like that's so we do that a lot. And I have started collecting seeds from the Rocky Mountains, and that's I've been able to grow some herbs from there, which feels really special. But the second part, the only way that I've really come to terms with how to make things profitable, because I just am going into the hole deeper and deeper, is through agritourism or agricultural events. So your herb camp sounds like it's similar to that. And I would love to come, but I'm having a baby in July, so I will not be attending at least this year. But yeah, so just if you I have not done the research on your business that I would have liked to before this Zoom call. But I am very familiar. So I just was wondering if you do other
Agritourism things.
yeah, yeah.
We do, I mean, we don't really, I think it's a great idea, especially with horses. I mean, I already have a business line for you. I think you should do, I'm like, what about equestrian
Yeah.
products? People with horses pay money. They don't
Yes.
care. People with pets, humans, they don't care. They want to argue with you. They don't want to pay, $50 for an iron syrup, but they'll pay 200 for their horses. So I would say make a line for horses, an herbal line for horses. There you go.
I back that up, Elise. I
Yeah.
think the herbal pets, herbal animals, Monique is listening here as well, is an untapped market that is only growing like 50% a year. It's
Yeah.
wild right now what is happening. And you get to be, and actually, Western herbalists are not even close to being in that market. Like TCM is already embedded in somewhat in holistic vet stuff. But if you have herbs that you're using with your horses already, videotape it, write a story, write a blog,
Yeah.
anything you can do to build up your own story and your own stamp that this is what my family does. This is how I gather these herbs. I gather them on horse in the wild, and then I grow. Like
Right.
I'm about to spend $100 on that product just to have
And you don't
wild.
even have a horse.
Exactly. Because of what you just shared, Lexi. You shared a
Yeah.
story that is extremely
Mhm.
unique. You going to the Rocky Mountains, gathering these seeds, growing these plants. Now you have this really special, unique, I can't get anywhere else product.
Yeah.
People don't lean into their stories enough.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. It has been so hard for me to build. I have a hard time speaking publicly, even in Zoom
Mhm.
calls like this. So, and I did start posting on social media a lot last year, and I did garner some attention and followers. And horse people are so crazy. I don't know if you guys know, like herb people are
They're
really
crazy.
passionate.
Horse people are amazingly crazy. Yes, I agree with you.
Like I tell people to, if you've ever watched Tiger King, like it's like that with horse people. So I've been treading very cautiously on what I say and how I show up on social media because it's also very like MAGA, and it's I'm in Utah. It's just been a lot, but
Mhm.
um yeah, my goal is my dad wants to do like guided outback tours, and we want to do like horse herb walks, and my sister has a sociology degree and wants to get her master's and do like horse therapy. So we're working. The Our problem right now is horses are so freaking expensive. We have to move land and move our horses. We have to buy land before we can sell the land that we have right now. Like it's just
I
I
hear a nonprofit in the making and horse people raising to the occasion.
Yes, yes.
You
I
can
think you
buy
have to just
yourself a
charge.
future trip to the sanctuary. There you go.
I think that you just have to charge a lot for it.
Yeah.
And people will pay it. They
Yeah.
pay top dollar for experiences like that. And you pay it, you charge it because that's what it costs, right? You don't charge it because you're
And you have a
gouging people.
scholarship program for people.
Totally. I mean,
Yeah,
for,
that's about it.
yeah, scholarship for people in need, but then like people spend more money on wellness travel right now than they ever have in the history of this country. And it's wellness travel is going bonkers. And what you have is agritourism and wellness travel together because you have the herbal side of it. So I would really look at what would you love to do? What is it going to cost? See if there's any price points out there similar, especially in high-end resorts. And if it's similar to some of these high-end resorts, you're at a good price point. And that's what you charge, but you tell the story of what you guys do and who you are. You build a beautiful brand around it. People will pay for it. They're already paying for it at these high-end resorts. They're just, you are a boutique version of that. And that's where I think lean into the value you're creating for people, which is transformation. You're healing people. It's like that that's priceless, really, at the end of the day. And your intention behind it will make you more valuable too. So don't worry too much about what it's going to cost. Make sure you're charging to make a margin on that for sure. And happy to look at some of those numbers that you work on.
Yeah, I might just show, and it's interesting too, just to, because we are so unique. So I would, but yeah, that would be really helpful. There's just a lot, lots of moving pieces. I know nothing. I've been studying herbs. That's all I know. But anyway, I don't want to bogart your time. Thank you for letting me ramble on.
Thanks for sharing. And you know lots, so keep sharing it.
You do know lots.
Mhm.
What other questions do we have for Elise?
I have questions.
Oh, Monique, please.
Yeah, I've been super excited for this call with you, Elise.
Hi,
My
Monique.
kind of dream vision that I've been working towards for the last like 6 or so months has been growing all my own herbs to then make products out of to sell and like only make the products solely out of what I'm growing here on the land. So I've just been creating the gardens and just sourcing as many seeds and getting things growing. But I know you guys must have like I think from if I remember correctly, our class I did with you when I was in verse, like huge drying rooms. But if you were doing it on like a much smaller scale, is there anything that you would recommend for like that smaller scale of like the best way to dry herbs? Like a lot of, I do want to make a lot of things out of fresh products, but there are some things like I want to make like a line of electros and things out of dried herbs. Yeah.
What herbs are you talking about drying? Aerial parts, flowers, roots,
Uh,
berries?
it'll probably be a little bit of everything.
Mhm. I mean, one easy, I don't know if we showed you our cabinet dryer when we did the tour, but it's basically, creating like a wooden box that it has slats of screens that fit into it, and then it has a just you can have like a regular fan, like a box fan at the top that's sucking air up from it, and then a radiator heater down below, so it's got hot air coming in, and then the fan, its fan is sucking the air out. It works pretty well. So you want to make sure that, drying herbs to be able to, so we test every single lot that comes out of our dryers. So that's about $100 per lot that you have to test yeast, mold, E. coli, salmonella, all the microbial counts. And so if you're not doing that and you're just using it for your own product and you're not selling it to somebody else, um, you have to test your own product in the end. I don't know what the rules are in all different countries, but so we just found that the way that we really can pass test the best is airflow. So I would say that is the biggest thing, is just making sure there's airflow in your dryer. Um, that has been our best results. And moving things, it's not that easy. It's just sticking it in a dryer and moving it, right? Like anybody who's done even like an Excalibur, like food dehydrator, it's like gets really dry on one side and the other side's still moist, and you're having to move things around. And every time you touch a product, there's a chance for some kind of contamination. So it's like making sure hands are washed and all these little, steps you put into place. But I feel like the cabinet dryers are pretty darn good. I feel like you can make things work with that at a smaller scale. And people have even done rooms like that. I mean, I know, without saying names, farms that are near us that grow for their own products, have actually something like that, just a room, and it's a bunch of screens, and they just have fans that come in there. And it's always amazing to me that at that scale they dry so much, but they're putting most of it in tincture afterwards. So, and I think they're testing after the tincture at the product level, to make sure it passes specifications. But if you're selling direct to consumer, I don't think you have the same issues. It's when you start selling into a grocery store, any kind of store, and a third party is selling your products, testing gets a little bit more stringent. So if you're selling to somebody else who's going to be making products, then you have to make sure that your herbs are going to pass. And that's something that's happened in the last 10 years. It used to always be tested at the end product, and now people are asking farms to test the products, need to test out before it's put into the whatever menstruum and it's going to go into. So that makes it a little bit more difficult on the farming side. So a lot of
Thank
people are
you.
tending towards sterilizing things. Bigger companies are sterilizing everything just so they don't have to deal with it, like a steam or heat sterilization.
Right.
So
Thank you. That was super helpful. And also, I know like obviously every soil's different. So what you do for soil health would be different. And I'm only just kind of getting into this and learning more. But if you would have any tips on just like kind of overall, really make like any tips for caring for the soil so that you get good crops.
hmm. So I guess I would first say, which I haven't I'm so, how you can know some things and you don't do it for yourself. But like for my own, I was gonna say like for your own health, getting lab tests every year, but I'd never do that. So, but for the soil we do, for the farm, we do soil tests every year and we see the health of our soil. And it's like, oh, we can see what it's missing, what it's not, like where we need to amend. Like we don't need to, feed a bunch of, supplements into something that we have plenty of in the soil. So I would say first get lab testings and see where your soil's at. And it's actually so fun to like test the organic matter content and see that increasing over time by your farming techniques. Like that's a super cool thing just to legitimize, like you're like, this is good work I'm doing. I'm like doing the good thing. Like I'm still, growing, I'm harvesting, I'm cultivating crops, and I'm still building organic matter. Like I'm actually doing good things for the soil, which is great. And then I think just diversity. I think that's where it gets, and it's just like for us for food, like, there could be great superfood, whatever, but it wouldn't be the only food you ever ate. And so, plants that you plant in the soil in your land are going to extract and they're going to give nutrients to your soil. And so, if you are planting the same thing every time, over time, you're depleting it from certain nutrients. So, you want to have diversity and you want to have rotation of crops in your land. And then, of course, that helps with everything is, pest mitigation and all the things that happen, right? And also just if one crop doesn't do well this year, you're not like lost the whole farm because your whole farm was in one crop and you now lost your whole business, right? At least you're like, well, that was a big bummer, but at least I have all these other crops that I can lean on. So that's some things that I can think of as far as that goes.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
I imagine the dryer at California School of Herbal Studies is similar with what you're talking about. It looks like a
Screen.
cabinet. It looks
Yeah.
like just a basic closet, really,
Yeah,
like an
exactly.
armoire, and then it just
Mhm.
has the yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is the more quantity you put in someplace, like, sometimes we have a 6-to-1 dry down ratio. So like where's all that moisture going, right? So you just want to make sure that you have some kind of ventilation to get the moisture out. So for us, we have so much air and ventilation, and then the tops of our dryers are open on one side so that that moisture is kind of just getting blown out. So I think there's that part of it that you just want to be, cognizant of that there's going to be moisture going somewhere. And you may not want it in your garage sticking in there and like dealing with mold at some point later on.
Right, 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 right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
What other questions do we have for Elise today? if we don't have any further questions, I'm curious, Elise, what's next for Oshala? What's the next year to 5 years look like for you?
Oh my
Is
gosh.
that a hard question?
What's the next 5 days? Um, well, we're definitely hosting more events at the farm. It's funny when we talked about hosting the verse thing, I was telling you that we were looking at more of that just because it comes down to also just like I just love being able to share the space with people and the joy that people get to experience, kind of what you were talking about. Is it Lexi? I'm guessing it's Lexi because in your name, but um, just being able to share that joy with the land with people and connecting with plants. Not everybody gets to do that. So that is, I don't know how like profitable that is, but it feels good. And we're hosting more events on the farm, things like that. So we're working a little bit more on creating space for that. And then we also are working on a farm collaborative where we're working with other farms to either help them become organic or regenerative organic and help sell their products on our website. So we just added a few products this year with that. And yeah, just working and really we've just kind of discovered no matter where you are in the US or the world, like kind of farmers are dealing with the same types of things. And so that's been beautiful to kind of work with other farmers and help support them. And there's not like, I think Jeff and I are, and probably, a lot of people in your group, it's like most farmers don't actually like to talk to people, but we love it. So like we're kind of educators at heart, so it works out. But a lot of people don't. So to be able to have a place where we can work with them directly and sell the product for them and also have the story and be able to share that story. Like I've been meeting so many wonderful growers and their stories behind it. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I know other people, want to hear those stories. So that's kind of a cool new project that we've been working on. So
I
that's
love
that's
that.
the biggest thing.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see what comes up in the future for you and Jeff. There's no doubt that you are both you have the disease of entrepreneurship.
This is true.
It's never ending with those of us who are afflicted. And it's really beautiful to watch how community is such a central piece of your identity and of your values and of Oshala in general. And it's a beautiful thing to watch from the outside.
And the inside, because you're here too.
I'm here too, yes, but
Yeah,
you're
you're part of
really
it.
there all the time.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. But that's the
Anything
beauty
else?
of it. Yeah, just the beauty that like everybody that is, supports you and your business and whatever you're doing, like we're all one community and how, like this amazing change and beautiful things that we can create together and having people understand that like by purchasing, their herbal products for their horses from you, Lexi, or whoever does that, like they're helping build that beautiful vision. And it's not just about you. Like you're not just talking about Lexi, like they really don't care. People don't really care about Jeff and Elise. They want to be able to be part of a bigger vision that's like helping regenerative organic and farming grow. And that's what feels good to people, right? Like people want to be part of that. So I think allowing people and putting our ego aside and realizing that like people want to be part of that. It's not, we don't have to get caught up in it because I don't like talking about myself either. So I can totally relate. But people do enjoy being part of a beautiful vision like that. So it's nice.
You definitely talk about yourself more, at least.
Yeah, I don't like it either. So,
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, Lexi has one more question. Go ahead, Lexi.
Do you did you have to write a business plan to get funding? And do you have any advice if you did have to do that?
um, so not officially because we knew the person that lent us our first chunk of money was a customer of ours. So and we had like, part of that plan was that we had sales going towards them. So that was helpful. But they did review it and did look at like what our options were. And Jeff, I happen to have a partner who's really great at stuff like that and loves, well, I don't know if he really loves it. I think he loves doing things like that. He's tasked with that job, so seems to do a good job. Um, but there are so many amazing, I mean, I would say even, well, I mean, classes like this are amazing, number one. And, Laura can be a great resource as far as that goes. And I also think that SBA is like totally underutilized. They love helping small businesses. They love helping women. There's so many different grants and funding available at SBA stuff, and it's like virtually free. It's so amazing, and they have like such great resources. So I would, there was there's so many great. I'm trying to think of. I wonder if Idaho's part of it. It's called RAIN, and it's for businesses in looking in rural areas looking to do business, and it's from the Pacific. I guess I don't know if Idaho's part of it, but it'd be interesting. There's all kinds of resources. I would definitely reach out to SBA, and people will help you. They'll help you write your business plan, they'll help you review it, and yeah.
I have gone through the SBA process, um, and they need more of a financial projections than they need a business plan. So they want to
Mhm.
see what you are interested, what you think this money will return for you in 5 years, and that you know where your revenue is coming from and you can predict where it's going in order for you to pay off that loan. It's a great way to get money. It's a cheap way to get money. But if you don't have revenue already, if you don't have money coming in, you probably are going to have to get a personal loan before you get an SBA loan. But there's grants, like you were saying, Elise, and the grants, I just put the link in this SBA, their learning center. You can get free mentorship through the SBA. You can get a lot of support. They're not going to help you with grants, really. They're really good at getting mentors in there and then helping you get financing. The thing that they're going to be very bad at, and I'm just going to be honest with you, is finding someone in your industry that will mentor you directly.
Mm.
Like Elise is in your industry, right? I've gone through the people that are their mentors are people in corporate. They've never really sometimes run their own companies, or if they have, it's been a department in a business. So it's like they're really good at marketing, but might not be good at marketing for your particular niche. It doesn't get as nitty gritty as sometimes people need. But if you need to look over finances, if you need to look at big things, they are really, really good at that. And or even learn about finances. What does business finance look like, different from personal finance, et cetera. And then I know that people at Mad Ag, I'm actually pretty close to them, the group that started Mad Agriculture. They might be for bigger farmers. I think they're actually more people transitioning farms from traditional farming to regenerative farming, but they're a great group just to be aware of if you're looking for regenerative agriculture pieces. But look for these USDA grants for farmers. And then I would just keep just going down out the rabbit holes as you're looking for these people in the journey. And at least you are a wealth of knowledge. So thank you for sharing all of your wisdom.
Yeah, of course. Happy to talk with you all, and it's always inspiring and fun to hear what people are up to, and yeah, it just takes us all supporting each other is what it takes.
That's right. That's right. It definitely takes all of it. And building your business from what you want your life to look like first is the way you're going to do what Elise has done, which is build a beautiful, successful company based on what you love. And it's really nice to see that from as your friend and colleague that you really love what you do. And I'm really happy to see that in the world in general,
Thank you.
at least probably most of the
Yeah,
time.
I was like, sometimes you don't. I mean, we all have those times, right? But if you totally believe in what you're doing and you're passionate about it, it definitely makes the hard days easier for sure.
Well,
So,
thank you so much for your time. And
oh
thank you
yeah.
everyone for being here.
Yeah, and thank you so much. I mean, I think that what you're doing, Laura, is just so valuable. I was actually just quoting you the other day. If more people like us could be millionaires, there would be a better world, you know? That's what you want, because we're going to do good stuff with our money. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
We'll
So,
do really good stuff. It's just how do
yeah.
we get there without selling our soul? We got to do it.
Exactly.
We got to
Exactly.
do it the right way.
Yep.
Yes.
exactly. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Elise.
You're
Thank
so
you for
quiet, Joe. I need to hear something from Joe before she leaves.
I just know. No, I just wanted to say thank you. I really was here to listen. I'm starting my own backyard herb farm to
Nice.
do my micro bakery and herb products. So, yeah, I just bought my first house, so I'm making the beds and tending the soil and getting everything set up so that I can do that. So I really just wanted to hear all the magic that came out of your mouth today. That's what I was here for.
Amazing. Well, best of luck to you. That's
Thank
exciting.
you. Thank you.
Super great.
Congratulations, Joe.
Thanks.
Have a beautiful rest of your day, everyone. Thank you, Elise, for
Okay.
your precious, precious time.
Thank you, everyone's. Yeah. Thank you. All
We'll
right.
see you all soon. Take care.